Hello, welcome to Oxford Heirlooms. In this video, I'm going to create the little cuffs for the sleeves of the day gown. If you haven't already, you need to mark the halfway point at the bottom of the sleeve on both sleeves. But I've got a little bit of preliminary work to do before I start sewing the cuffs to the day gown, so I'm going to set the day gown off to the side. Now the cuff piece for the Becca day gown pattern is 7 inches long, and that's big enough for an infant newborn to about 3 months for their little hands and their arms to fit through. But what I'm going to do is I've got this entree beading that I'm going to attached to the sleeve so that I can weave some pink silk ribbon into it. But I'm going to cut this cuff piece or the beading piece 1.5 inches longer. So I'm going to cut them at 8.5 inches. Now I have a little ruler sort of painted on the front of my sewing machine table. So I'm going to measure out 8.5 inches and cut 2 pieces of beading for myself. You get that untwisted and cut the second piece. Line it up with the first piece and cut the second piece of beading. Okay. All right, so I've got a little bit of entree beading left over. I'm going to put that off to the side. Now, the next thing I need to do is let me put my cuff pattern piece away too. I need to cut a piece of lace that's 1.5 times the length of the cuff so that I can gather it to attach some lace to the cuff, the entree beading. So I'm going to measure out 1 length and then fold it in half, fold it over a second time, and that gives me 1.5 times the length of the lace. And I'll cut that. I need to have 2 pieces because I have 2 cuffs. Isn't that funny how babies have 2 arms? 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears. Okay. All right, so let me put the rest of my lace off to the side. Okay, now I'm going to, using a zigzag, I'm going to gather the lace and attach it to one side of the entree beading. So I need to, with my embroidery scissors, I need to cut the excess batiste away from both pieces of the entree beading. Just cut it off on one side. I'll leave the excess batiste on the other side of the beading because I will use that when I attach that to the slip. So that's one. And let me do another. Okay. All right, so I've got both pieces of entree beading prepared to sew lace on. Now I'm going to use a silk pin and grab a header from out of this little narrow 1/2 inch lace. Now this is not Moline lace, so I don't have to worry about whether it's inside or outside. But I'm going to grab a header thread and pull it and gather it until it's the length of the entree beading. I'll do one at a time. Okay, this will take me a minute. I'll finish doing this off camera. Okay, so I've gathered one piece of lace. I'm going to set my machine to a zigzag in the appropriate stitch length and stitch width for sewing entree. And then I'm going to zigzag this gathered lace to the trimmed side of the entree beading. I will catch the entree holes on the left. Let me see if I can zoom in and get my hands out of the way. And catch just the header of the lace on the right. I just want to make sure I'm not stabbing the entree hole. Okay. I do this kind of slow because it's easy to get the lace tangled up. Okay, and you got to make sure because it flips on itself sometimes, and I need to flip that lace over. Keep it going on straight. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this will take me a minute to get this lace all sewn on, so I'll be right back. Okay, I have both cuffs prepared, and what I'm going to do, since I'm going to need to attach these to the sleeves in just a little bit, I'm going to fold them in half and make a little blue mark at the halfway mark on the entree beading. Get that folded in half. And that little blue mark will also guide me since I put it on the entree hole just a little bit. So when I weave my ribbon in, it's easier for me to figure out where the halfway mark is on the sleeve. And then I can remove that blue mark later on. Okay, now I need to set my sleeve pieces off to the side for a minute and get my gown piece back, because now I need to run some gathering threads along the bottom of each of the two sleeves. So I'm going to set my machine to a straight stitch. I've been on zigzag right now, and increase my stitch width so that I can make some gathering threads. And I'm going to, the first pass will be at about 3/16, about 1/4 of an inch away from the bottom of the sleeve. And the second pass will be 1/4 of an inch away from that. So let me make I'm gonna sew gathering threads on both sleeves. But this will take me a minute to get the gathering thread sewn, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my gathering threads sewn onto both sleeves. I'm going to take one of my cuff pieces now, and I'm going to line up these two blue center marks and pin that into place. And then I will begin to gather my sleeve to fit the cuff. So let me grab my two gathering threads right here. You know, I read somewhere where bobbin threads gather a little bit better, but for some reason, I always gather with the top thread. You know, I like to have my gathering thread on the outside of the sleeve rather than on the inside of the sleeve. Okay, so I'm going to line that up and continue to pin this into place, and then I will gather the other side of the sleeve also. But this will take me a minute to get this done, so I'll be right back. Okay, I've got that cuff pinned into place along the bottom of the sleeve. So I've set my sewing machine back to a standard straight stitch, and I'm going to sew a straight seam on the batiste part of the entree beading, just to the right of the entree holes. I'll do this with both sleeves. Okay, so this will take me a minute to get this done, so I'll be right back. Okay, I've got both little cuffs sewn onto both of the sleeves. Now, since I will not be trimming away the excess batiste from the entree beading once I fold it over to zigzag on the second side, I'm going to set my machine to a zigzag stitch, and I'm going to zigzag like I did on the arm seams. I'm going to finish off this raw edge. So let me zigzag this first sleeve real quickly, and it just kind of gives it a nice neat finish, because I will be turning it to do the second half or the second pass of my entree seam, but I just want this finished along this raw edge. Okay, all right. Cut my threads off. Okay, so that's a little bit finished. Let me trim a couple of these little straggly threads off so that they don't hang out from the edge of the day gown. Okay, now I'm going to go to the ironing board, and I'm going to very carefully, I'm going to press this gathered seam toward the inside of the fabric, and then I'll come back and I'll zigzag to hold that seam in place, but I'll be right back. Okay, I've got this seam pressed towards the inside of the sleeve, so I've got my machine set for a zigzag in the appropriate stitch length and stitch width for sewing entree, and I'm going to catch the fold of the fabric on the left and go in the entree hole on the right. And I'm tacking that seam toward the inside of the sleeve. There. That took me a little hot minute to get that done. Let me clip my threads. Okay, now the last thing I need to do is on the sleeve, you can still see the bottom gathering thread. So I'm going to use my seam ripper and just pull that out and go into the inside and grab the bobbin thread and pull it out also. Okay, now I've already done the other sleeve, so let me zoom out for just a minute. And this is beginning to start to look like a pretty little day gown now. So the front embroidery is just lovely, and we've got these darling little entree beading cuffs on both of the sleeves. And in the next video, we will create the French seams for the sides of the garment, and then we'll start working on the neck edge also. But creating the little cuffs and sewing them to the sleeves was what I was doing today. Thank you.